The unexpected encounter. Aboard the Vixari research station Alpha 12, deep in uncharted space, the only human crew member, Alex Carter, worked quietly in the maintenance bay. The station, a massive floating structure of sleek metal and glowing blue energy lines, belonged to the Vixari, a highly advanced yet emotionless alien species. Alex had been assigned to the station as part of an intergalactic exchange program, a rare opportunity for humans to work alongside an alien civilization. The Vixari were brilliant scientists and engineers, but their understanding of biological life forms was limited. They were a species of crystalline, almost synthetic beings, with no blood, no soft flesh, and no concept of pain. Alex had been repairing a faulty power conduit when he slipped. The sharp edge of a broken metal panel sliced into his palm. He hissed in pain and pulled his hand back, watching as crimson blood dripped onto the metallic floor. "Ah, great, just what I needed," he muttered. A soft, melodic voice gasped from behind him. "Human, you are leaking." Alex turned to see Zayla, one of the younger Vixari researchers. She stood frozen, her bright silver eyes wide with shock. Her smooth, pale blue skin shimmered under the station's white lights, and her glowing circuits pulsed erratically, a sign of distress. "Leaking?" Alex chuckled, shaking his head. "It's just blood. No big deal." But Zayla wasn't listening. Her panic level spiked instantly. "You are malfunctioning. You are breaking down," she exclaimed. Her hands hovered near him, trembling, unsure if she should touch him or call for help. Alex sighed. He had almost forgotten. The Vixari had never seen blood before. No, it's fine. Humans heal. It's normal," he tried to explain, but Zayla wasn't convinced. Instead of calming down, she slammed the emergency alarm on the wall. Red warning lights flashed. Loud sirens echoed across the station. Within seconds, the sliding doors burst open, and a group of Vixari scientists rushed in. Each of them wore long, white research robes with holographic screens floating around them. Their glowing blue veins flickered in rapid, chaotic patterns, signaling their distress. At the front was High Scholar Vrex, the station's chief scientist. His tall, slender form radiated authority as he took one look at Alex's bleeding hand and narrowed his metallic gold eyes. "Human Carter is compromised," Vrex declared. "Immediate containment protocol activated." Alex blinked. "Wait, what?" Before he could react, mechanical arms shot down from the ceiling, encircling him with bright energy barriers. What the hell? Alex tried to step back, but a scanner locked onto his injury, analyzing his vitals in real time. Vrex studied the data, his face unreadable. Internal fluids escaping. Biological unit unstable. Damage to primary structure detected. Alex groaned. "Guys, it's just a small cut." Zayla interrupted, pointing at his hand. "He is deteriorating. We must act fast." Another scientist, a Vixari medic, suggested, "Should we remove the damaged limb?" Alex's eyes went wide. "Excuse-me." Zayla gasped, looking even more panicked. No, that would cause more damage. We must stop the leakage first." Vrex nodded. "Agreed. Initiating biological fluid containment." Alex barely had time to react before robotic appendages lunged toward him, armed with sterilizing foam and medical clamps. Whoa, back off." He ducked, dodging the robotic arms, his heart pounding. The Vixari didn't understand why he was resisting. From their perspective, they were trying to save his life. Zayla reached for him, her fingers barely grazing his wrist. "Human, you must comply. You are in danger." Alex sighed, holding up his injured hand. "Listen to me. This is called blood. Humans have it inside their bodies. When we get cut, we bleed, but then it clots and heals on its own." The Vixari all exchanged confused looks. Clots. Vrex repeated. Self-repair. Zayla hesitated. You? Heal naturally. Yes, Alex said, exasperated. Give it a few minutes, and it'll start closing up. The Vixari fell silent, processing this information. Their kind never had wounds. Their bodies were made of a special crystalline structure that didn't leak or bleed. If they were damaged, they either repaired themselves instantly or shattered completely. The idea that a soft-bodied creature like Alex could regenerate over time was unbelievable to them. But before they could ask more questions, something unexpected happened. Zayla stumbled backward, her breath hitching. Her glowing circuits flickered wildly, and then she fainted. Alex barely managed to catch her before she hit the ground. What the? He looked at the others. What just happened? Vrex's eyes darkened. She has gone into shock. Alex stared. From what? Seeing blood. Vrex nodded gravely. Our kind is not designed to witness such things. Her system is overloaded. Alex groaned. You've got to be kidding me. But as he held the unconscious Zayla in his arms, the station's automated defense AI suddenly activated. A deep robotic voice echoed through the room. Alert. Foreign biological hazard detected. Initiating quarantine. Alex's blood ran cold. Oh. Within seconds, the doors slammed shut, and security turrets emerged from the ceiling, scanning the room. Alex realized, too late, the Vixari now believed he was a biological threat, and they weren't going to let him leave. Full station emergency. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the metallic halls of the Vixari research station. Alert. Foreign biological hazard detected. Initiating quarantine protocol. The emergency sirens blared, flashing red lights illuminating the smooth metallic walls. The moment the station's AI classified Alex as a potential biohazard, the automated security systems activated. Large reinforced doors slammed shut, sealing off the medical bay. Overhead, security turrets descended from the ceiling, their glowing blue lenses scanning Alex like he was some kind of unstable bomb about to go off. Alex froze, still cradling Zayla's unconscious form in his arms. Oh, great. Now, I'm a walking plague. He looked down at the young Vixari scientist. Her usually glowing silver eyes were tightly shut, and her pale blue skin was slowly darkening, a clear sign of her body going into shock. Her circuitry, which usually pulsed with soft blue light, was flickering erratically like a broken screen. Hey, wake up. Alex gently shook her, but she didn't respond. High Scholar Vrex, the head scientist, stepped forward, analyzing the situation with cold, calculated precision. His golden eyes narrowed as he observed Zayla's state. Her body is failing, he announced. The site of your biological leakage has induced a neural overload. If not stabilized, she will experience a full core shutdown. Alex's eyes widened. Core shutdown? You mean like dying? Vrex gave a slow nod. Correct. We must remove the source of her distress. The biological hazard must be eliminated. Alex stiffened. Wait, you're talking about me, aren't you? Before Vrex could answer, the security turrets locked onto Alex, their mechanical arms shifting into containment mode. Target acquired. Engaging restraint protocol. With a sharp whirring sound, several metallic tentacle-like arms shot toward Alex, glowing cuffs at their ends designed to subdue him. Instinct kicked in. Alex dove to the side, barely avoiding the first clamp as it slammed down where he had been standing. Keeping Zayla securely in his arms, he sprinted toward the nearest console, dodging two more capture arms as they swung wildly toward him. Would you guys stop trying to arrest me? He shouted. Vrex remained eerily calm, observing Alex's every move like a scientist studying a lab rat. This is an advanced quarantine procedure, he said. You cannot escape. Alex growled in frustration. He needed to shut down the security systems, but that meant getting to the primary console, which was on the other side of the room. He glanced at Zayla. She was getting worse. Her breathing was shallow, and her hands trembled against his chest. I don't have time for this. Thinking fast, he spotted a loose metal tray on a nearby table. Without hesitation, Alex grabbed the tray and flung it into the nearest turret sensor. The impact sent a loud metallic clang echoing through the room. The turret jerked wildly, its targeting systems scrambling for a new lock. Taking advantage of the brief distraction, Alex bolted toward the control panel. Just a few more steps. A sharp sting shot through his back. Pain exploded in his muscles as one of the containment arms latched onto him, delivering an electric shock. AG. His knees buckled, and his vision blurred for a moment. The mechanical voice of the AI echoed again. Biological hazard subduity. Applying. Ulol restraintis. More containment arms moved in, ready to pin him to the floor. Alex gritted his teeth. Not happening. With pure, desperate strength, he forced himself forward, dragging the metal arm that had caught him. His muscles screamed in protest, but he kept pushing. With his free hand, he slammed his fist against the control panel. A blue holographic interface blinked to life. Come on, he muttered, rapidly scanning the options. The Vixari text was a jumbled mess of symbols, but thankfully, he had been working on this station long enough to recognize a few key commands. His eyes locked onto one. OVE or ID conti inament sequency. That'll do. He slammed the activation button. A loud beep filled the room. Then, the turrets froze. The mechanical arms that had been reaching for him stopped mid-motion, their glowing lights flickering weakly. The security lockdown deactivated. Alex barely had time to breathe before Zayla suddenly gasped in his arms. Her body trembled violently, her circuits flashing in unstable bursts. Vrex rushed forward, eyes widening for the first time. She is destabilizing. Alex knew he had to act fast. How do I fix this? He demanded. Vrex's expression darkened. Her system is in a feedback loop. Her core needs an immediate reset, but it requires direct physical intervention. Alex blinked. You mean like CPR? Vrex tilted his head. Unknown term. Explain. Alex didn't have time for a biology lesson. He knew from basic first aid that if someone was going into shock, sometimes applying pressure to the right nerve points could stabilize them. Taking a deep breath, he pressed 2 fingers against a pulsing circuit on Zayla's neck. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, her circuits flared with a bright silver light. Zayla gasped sharply, her eyes snapping open. Her fingers clutched at Alex's jacket, her breathing ragged. Human, she whispered, her voice shaking. Alex let out a relieved chuckle. Yeah, I know. I saved your life. You can thank me later. Zayla blinked rapidly, staring up at him in confusion. Her fingers twitched against his chest as she processed what just happened. Then her expression changed. She blushed. Vixari didn't have human-style blood circulation, but the circuits beneath her skin lit up in a deep violet glow, a color Alex had never seen before. Before he could question it, Vrex stepped forward, observing them both. His golden eyes locked onto Alex. You are not as fragile as we assumed, Vrex admitted. Alex scoffed. Yeah, well, you guys really need to update your first aid procedures. Vrex folded his arms. Perhaps. He looked down at Zayla, whose gaze remained fixed on Alex with an expression of pure awe. And something else. A silence settled between them. Then, the station's AI interrupted. ALERT. Unauthorized access detected. Intruder containment breached. Deploying secondary security measures. Alex groaned loudly. Seriously, what else do you guys have? A death ray. The lights flickered. The station trembled. Something big was coming, and Alex had a feeling it was going to get much worse. Vixari can't handle blood. The walls of Vixari Research Station Alpha 12 trembled slightly, sending faint vibrations through the metallic floor. The overhead lights flickered as the station's AI security system rebooted, recalibrating itself after Alex's override. The air felt heavy, charged with an unsettling tension. Alex stood frozen, still cradling Zayla in his arms, as High Scholar Vrex observed them with cold, calculating eyes. The other Vixari scientists remained utterly silent, their glowing circuitry flickering in erratic patterns, a clear sign of disbelief, shock, and confusion. The entire situation had spiraled out of control. First, Alex had bled, which caused a panic. Then, Zayla had fainted from the sight of it. Now, Alex had somehow revived her using human first aid techniques that the Vixari had never encountered before. And to top it all off, the station's AI now considered him an intruder and was preparing new containment measures. Alex exhaled, feeling the weight of 100 alien eyes on him. "Okay," he said slowly, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Before anything else happens, can someone please explain why the hell Zayla almost died just from looking at my blood?" Vrex's golden eyes flickered, and his expression remained stoic. "The Vixari biological structure does not allow for internal ruptures," he explained, his voice as calm as ever. "Our forms are composed of adaptive crystalline fiber, which seals upon damage. We do not bleed as you do. Your leaking organic matter was perceived as a catastrophic failure of your body." Alex frowned. "So, what? Your people just never get hurt?" Vrex's response was simple. "If a Vixari is damaged beyond self-repair, they shatter. There is no recovery." Alex paused, letting that sink in. No recovery, no natural healing. If a Vixari sustained an injury too severe to self-repair, their body simply broke apart, like shattered glass. That explained why they had no concept of minor wounds, cuts, or even bleeding. To them, if something was leaking, it meant death. Zayla, who was still breathing heavily in his arms, stirred slightly. Her silvery eyes fluttered open, and she looked up at him with a mix of shock, curiosity, and something else. "Human," she whispered, her voice weak. "You survived the leakage." Alex blinked. Yeah, that's kind of how the human body works." Zayla's fingers twitched against his jacket, gripping the fabric weakly. Her circuits flickered, shifting from erratic pulses to a softer, controlled rhythm. It was almost like she was stabilizing just from his presence. Vrex narrowed his eyes, stepping closer. "Explain the method you used to stabilize her," he commanded. "You applied physical force to her core circuits. What function does this serve?" Alex sighed. "It's called first aid. When a human goes into shock, you can help restart their natural body processes by applying pressure to certain nerve points." He glanced at Zayla. She was having a stress reaction, right? Her heart rate was spiraling out of control. "I just helped slow it down." Vrex studied him for a long moment before responding. "This knowledge does not exist within our medical archives," he admitted. "Your methods are unconventional." "Yeah, well, humans don't shatter when we get a paper cut," Alex muttered. Before Vrex could reply, a deep hum reverberated through the walls of the station. The AI's voice returned, colder than before. "Primary intruder protocol failed. Activating secondary security measures." Alex felt a chill creep up his spine. "Okay, what does secondary security measures mean?" he asked warily. Vrex's gaze darkened. "It means the station's AI will deploy something stronger." A loud clunk echoed through the walls, followed by a low mechanical whir. Then, the floor beneath them shifted. Panels in the walls slid open, revealing multiple tall, humanoid machines, their glowing blue optics scanning the room with eerie precision. Alex swallowed hard. "I was joking about the death rays earlier, but you guys actually have killer robots, huh?" Vrex remained unfazed. The Sentinel units are designed for extreme containment. If the AI deems an entity uncontrollable, it will resort to elimination. Alex's grip on Zayla tightened. Elimination. The AI considers you an unstable foreign element. Vrex said matter-of-factly, it will attempt to neutralize you. The Sentinels stepped forward, their energy weapons priming with a sharp hiss. Zayla's eyes widened as she recognized the threat. Despite her weakness, she grabbed onto Alex's wrist tightly. "Human," she whispered urgently. "You must run." Alex's heartbeat pounded in his ears. "Yeah, I figured that much," he muttered. Then he ran. The great chase. The moment Alex sprinted toward the door, the Sentinels reacted instantly. Bright blue plasma bolts streaked past him, narrowly missing his shoulder as he dodged behind a row of metallic equipment. The heat from the shots singed the air, making his skin prickle. Zayla clung to him weakly, barely able to hold herself upright. "This is insane," Alex shouted. "Your security system is trying to kill me over a paper cut." "The AI does not comprehend minor injuries," Zayla murmured, her circuits flickering. "It perceives anomalies as threats." Alex gritted his teeth as another plasma shot blasted a hole in the wall beside him. "Great, so basically, I'm a walking disaster in its eyes." Vrex watched from a distance, his expression unreadable. The other Vixari scientists stayed frozen, unwilling to interfere. To them, the AI was law. It was programmed to ensure the station's security, and if the AI deemed Alex a threat, then they had no reason to question it. Except for Zayla. Despite her weakness, she clutched Alex's arm tighter. "You saved me," she whispered. "Now I will return the action." Her eyes flashed silver, and suddenly, she reached out toward a nearby console. Her fingers pressed against the control panel, sending a surge of energy through the station's systems. Alex barely had time to react before. The lights flickered. Then the security turrets and sentinels momentarily powered down. The AI's voice glitched. "Unauthorized override detected. Rebooting." Alex stared at Zayla in shock. "You can do that." Zayla gave a weak, tired smile. "I am a systems engineer." Alex chuckled, shaking his head. "Yeah. Well, you just became my favorite one." But their relief didn't last long. Vrex, still standing in the doorway, stepped forward slowly. "You disabled the AI's defenses," he said, his tone unreadable. Zayla met his gaze, unflinching. Because it was wrong. A heavy silence fell over the room. Vrex studied Zayla for a long moment. Then his golden eyes shifted toward Alex. "Human," he said. "You are more resilient than I expected." Alex smirked, still breathing hard. "Yeah. Well, you guys are a little too fragile for my taste." Vrex's circuits flickered once. Then, after a moment, he stepped aside. "You have 5 minutes before the AI reboots. I suggest you use them wisely." Alex blinked. "Wait. Are you letting me go?" Vrex didn't answer. Alex didn't need to be told twice. Gripping Zayla's hand, he bolted for the exit. Escape and a terrifying revelation. The metallic halls of Vixari Research Station Alpha 12 stretched endlessly before them as Alex ran, gripping Zayla's trembling hand. His heartbeat pounded in his ears, drowning out the distant hum of the station's systems. The emergency AI override was only temporary, and he knew it was only a matter of minutes before the security defenses came back online. Behind them, Vrex remained motionless, standing in the doorway of the containment chamber, his golden eyes watching them flee. He didn't shout for them to stop. He didn't call for reinforcements. But Alex could feel his gaze, as if the High Scholar was observing something beyond just a fugitive human and a malfunctioning scientist. The thought sent a chill down his spine. Still, he had no time to dwell on it. "Zayla, are you holding up?" he asked as they rounded a corner. She stumbled slightly but held on. "My energy levels are unstable, but I will endure." Her fingers clenched weakly around his. Alex tightened his grip in response. Just hang on. We're getting out of here. The AI reboots. As if on cue, a cold synthetic voice echoed through the station. Warning. Unauthorized personnel detected. Security systems rebooting in 30 seconds. Alex cursed under his breath. 30 seconds before hell broke loose again. The station was an intricate labyrinth of smooth, silver corridors, most of which were sealed behind biometric locks that only the Vixari could access. If they were going to make it to the docking bay before the AI fully rebooted, they needed a shortcut. Alex's eyes darted across the walls, looking for anything he could use. Then he spotted it, a maintenance hatch along the corridor wall. It was narrow, but it led straight to the lower engineering decks, which connected to the main transport hub. Alex skidded to a stop and yanked at the panel's access lever. Zayla blinked in confusion. What are you doing? Taking a shortcut. But that passage is not meant for organic life forms. The hatch door hissed open. A blast of hot, pressurized steam hit them as the dimly lit service tunnel came into view. The walls were lined with shifting machinery, moving hydraulic arms, and glowing coolant pipes. It was a death trap of moving parts, designed for repair drones, not humans. Zayla's circuits flashed in alarm. You cannot be serious. Alex grabbed her hand. Trust me. She hesitated. Then, just as the AI's countdown hit 0, they jumped inside. Through the mechanical gauntlet. The moment they landed, the hatch slammed shut behind them. The AI's rebooted security turrets activated in the hallway a split second too late, missing them by mere inches. But there was no time to celebrate. The maintenance tunnel was alive with rotating gears, mechanical claws shifting along the rails, and blazing hot coolant pipes releasing occasional bursts of steam. Zayla looked terrified. This passage is highly dangerous. Yeah. Well, so is getting vaporized by security bots. Alex shot back. He grabbed a nearby ladder and started climbing, moving fast as the tunnel rumbled beneath them. Zayla followed, her body struggling against the heat. Her circuits flickered wildly, reacting to the intense pressure of the confined space. The metal catwalk beneath them trembled as a large automated repair drone rolled past, its multi-jointed arms scanning the tunnels for structural damage. It was 10 feet tall, with massive pincers designed to cut through reinforced plating. If it detected foreign life forms, it would not hesitate to crush them. Alex whispered, "Stay still." Zayla's breathing hitched, but she did as he said. The drone's glowing red sensors scanned the area, moving slowly. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then, it moved on. Alex exhaled in relief. That was close. But as they turned the next corner, his relief vanished. Ahead of them, the tunnel ended abruptly, blocked by a large ventilation fan, its blades spinning dangerously fast. Zayla froze. We are trapped. Alex gritted his teeth. No, we just need to get creative. A leap of faith. The fan was massive, nearly 10 feet in diameter, spinning at deadly speeds. The force of the rotating air roared through the tunnel, creating a wind tunnel effect that made standing difficult. On the other side of the fan was a small platform leading to an emergency access ladder, their only way out. Alex studied the gap. It was impossible to get through safely while the fan was spinning. But then, his eyes landed on a small control panel on the side of the tunnel wall. If he could disable the fan for just a few seconds, they could jump through. He turned to Zayla. I need you to hold on to something. She blinked. What are you going to do? Something reckless. Before she could object, he leaped onto the side railing, using the edge of the platform to balance himself. Then, he lunged for the control panel. The moment his fingers hit the interface, a shock ran through his body. A security failsafe. Alex gritted his teeth, pushing through the pain, forcing himself to bypass the system. His fingers flew over the alien symbols, trying to override the fan sequence. Then, the blades slowed. Zayla gasped. You did it. Alex whirled around. Go. Without hesitation, Zayla leaped across the gap, landing on the other side. But before Alex could follow, the AI's security reboot completed. The control panel lit up red. The blades roared back to full speed. Alex had no time. Without thinking, he jumped. The fan blades sliced the air behind him, missing him by mere inches. Zayla reached out, and at the last moment, caught his wrist. The sudden force jerked both of them back, nearly sending them tumbling off the platform. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, breathing heavily, Zayla stared at him. That was highly irrational, she whispered. Alex grinned, still catching his breath. Yeah, but it worked, didn't it? Zayla's circuits pulsed a deep violet again. Her grip on his wrist didn't loosen. A strange silence settled between them. Then, the AI's voice echoed once more. Warning. Unauthorized personnel detected in engineering bay. Activating emergency containment. Alex's stomach dropped. More security drones were coming. They had seconds before the station locked them down for good. The Great Escape. The moment Alex landed on the emergency platform, his chest heaved, lungs burning from the exertion. His fingers still tingled from the electrical shock he had taken while overriding the ventilation system, but there was no time to recover. Zayla, still gripping his wrist, pulled him upright with unexpected strength. We must keep moving, she whispered urgently. Alex barely had time to process the fact that she hadn't let go of his hand yet before the ice-cold voice echoed once more throughout the station. Warning. Engineering bay compromised. Initiating emergency containment. Security forces deployed. The metallic hiss of pressurized doors locking reverberated through the tunnel behind them. Alex felt his stomach drop. They're sealing off every exit. Zayla's silvery eyes flickered with determination. Then we find another way out. Before Alex could respond, the walls around them shifted, metallic panels retracting to reveal two towering sentinels. Unlike the drones they had encountered earlier, these mechanical constructs were twice the size of a human, with sleek, armored exoskeletons and glowing red optics that locked onto their targets like predatory beasts. Their massive arms hummed with high-frequency energy weapons, pulsing with restrained power. The sentinels took a single thunderous step forward. Targt's ID Sci-Fi, biological hazarity and kigom pluraro. Myas ed into HFY. Alex swore under his breath. Zayla froze, her circuits flickering wildly in alarm. Their combat rating is grade 6, she whispered. We cannot fight them. Good, Alex muttered, because I wasn't planning on it. Then, without warning, he grabbed Zayla and ran. Racing against the machines, the sentinels reacted instantly, their targeting systems locking onto Alex's movement. A high-pitched energy pulse screamed through the air. Alex barely dodged, pulling Zayla with him as a plasma bolt exploded against the wall, sending a shower of molten metal in all directions. Zayla let out a startled gasp, but Alex tightened his grip on her wrist, pulling her along. Faster. They sprinted down the narrow engineering deck, weaving through maintenance pipes and exposed wiring, their boots pounding against the metal grates. The sentinels pursued relentlessly, their heavy mechanical footsteps shaking the floor with each powerful stride. Their massive arms adjusted, recalibrating their trajectory. And then they switched tactics. Instead of firing again, they leaped. Alex's eyes widened as one of the sentinels vaulted over a maintenance ledge, landing directly in front of them with an earth-shaking boom. The impact sent a shockwave through the deck, knocking Alex and Zayla off their feet. Alex hit the floor hard, the breath knocked out of his lungs. He felt Zayla collapse beside him, her circuits pulsing erratically. The sentinel's glowing red optics stared down at them, its massive metal limbs whirring as it raised its arm, preparing to deliver the final strike. Alex acted on pure instinct. Using every ounce of strength he had, he lunged forward and tackled Zayla out of the way. Just as a massive energy blast incinerated the spot where they had been lying. The heat scorched his back, but he ignored it, rolling onto his feet and dragging Zayla up. "That was too close," he muttered. Zayla, still processing the fact that Alex had just shielded her with his own body, stared at him with an unreadable expression. Her circuits pulsed a deep violet glow again. But before either of them could say anything, the second sentinel arrived. And this time, they had nowhere left to run. A desperate gamble. The sentinels advanced, their weapons charging for another attack. Alex's mind raced. They couldn't outrun them. They couldn't fight them. That meant they had to outthink them. His eyes darted to a control console near the edge of the deck. The station's automated repair systems were routed through that panel, meaning if he could just override it, he could reroute power to. "Zayla," he hissed, "can you access that panel?" She blinked at him, then glanced at the console. Her circuits flickered with realization. "Yes," she breathed, "but I will need at least 10 seconds." Alex grimaced. 10 seconds was a lifetime in a fight like this. But he nodded. "Do it." Zayla sprinted toward the console, her fingers flying over the holographic interface, her mind sensing with the station's systems. The sentinels advanced, and Alex did the only thing he could. He charged straight at them. The sentinels hesitated for half a second, not expecting their target to run directly toward them. That half second was all Alex needed. He grabbed a loose metal pipe from the floor and swung with everything he had. Shirai-hik. The impact did nothing to the sentinels' armor. But Alex wasn't trying to damage them. He was trying to buy time. The sentinels' targeting matrix adjusted, registering Alex's movements as unpredictable. Instead of firing immediately, it recalibrated, precisely the delay Alex needed. "Zayla," he shouted. "Now would be a great time to." "Done," Zayla yelled. The moment the words left her mouth, the entire station rumbled. Overhead, the engineering deck's emergency fire suppression system activated, and from the ceiling, a massive burst of freezing coolant rained down, coating the sentinels in a thick layer of cryogenic mist. Their metal joints seized instantly. Alex watched as the towering machines froze in place, their circuits flickering wildly as their internal systems struggled against the sudden temperature drop. For the first time since the chase began, they stopped moving. Alex let out a ragged breath, his arms trembling from exhaustion. Zayla, still at the console, turned toward him, her silvery eyes wide with astonishment. "You stalled them long enough," she murmured, stepping closer. "You risked yourself to give me time." Alex chuckled breathlessly. "Yeah, well, that's what humans do." Zayla stared at him, circuits pulsing in that deep violet glow once more. She had no words, because for the first time in her life, she realized she had been wrong about humans. The final run. With the sentinels momentarily frozen, they bolted for the exit. The docking bay was only a few hundred meters away. But as they neared the final corridor, Alex's gut twisted. Something wasn't right. The station felt too quiet. Then, the overhead speakers crackled to life, and High Scholar Vrex's calm voice echoed through the halls. "You have proven yourselves interesting." Alex and Zayla skidded to a stop. "But your escape ends here." Then, the final blast doors sealed shut ahead of them, and Alex realized they had walked into a trap, a human's true strength. The blast doors slammed shut, cutting off their only exit to the docking bay. The metallic clang reverberated through the corridor, sealing them inside like prisoners in a cage. Alex skidded to a stop, his breath heavy, his muscles screaming from exhaustion. Beside him, Zayla's circuits flickered erratically, her body still weak from the earlier shock. They had come so far, only to be trapped at the very last moment. And then, High Scholar Vrex's voice returned, cold and calculating. "Impressive, Human Carter, you have lasted longer than anticipated. I expected you to fail at the engineering bay. But instead you adapted. You fought. You survived. Alex gritted his teeth, his fists clenching at his sides. You sound almost impressed, he muttered, scanning the area for any way out. Vrex ignored his sarcasm. I see now why your species is considered unpredictable. But your defiance must end here. The speakers crackled, and suddenly, the entire corridor began to shift. Metallic walls moved inward, their panels sliding seamlessly to form a smaller containment chamber. The ceiling panels shifted as well, exposing rows of high-voltage energy emitters, a force field generator designed to isolate hazardous entities. Zayla's eyes widened. A security lockdown chamber, she whispered. If it activates fully, we will be trapped inside indefinitely. Alex cursed under his breath. Great. Any ideas? Zayla's fingers twitched. The system must reach full charge before activation. If we can disrupt its power source before it stabilizes. Alex was already moving before she could finish. Cover me, he shouted, dashing toward the nearest control console. Zayla didn't question him. She moved. Despite her weakened state, she raised her hand toward the control panel, her circuits pulsing as she interfaced with the station's systems. But before she could disrupt the power grid, the energy emitters above them flared to life. A blazing arc of electricity surged down, slamming into the floor just inches from Alex, scorching the metal where he had been standing moments before. Zayla jerked back, startled. It's already charging. We don't have time. Alex gritted his teeth, scanning the walls. Then he saw it. A high-voltage junction panel, exposed for maintenance just a few meters away. It was connected to the containment field's energy supply. If he could disable it manually, they might have a chance. But there was one problem. The panel was locked behind a heavy security seal, one that required Vixuri biometrics to bypass. Alex turned to Zayla. Can you override that lock? She hesitated. It would take at least 40 seconds. They didn't have that kind of time. Alex took a deep breath. Then I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, a show of raw strength. Alex bolted toward the locked panel, ignoring the warning sparks from the energy emitters above. He gripped the heavy metal covering with both hands. Then, he pulled. The station's metal was dense, reinforced with high-grade alloys designed to withstand external damage. Even a Vixari engineer wouldn't attempt to open a locked panel without the proper tools. But Alex wasn't Vixari. With every ounce of strength he had, he yanked at the panel, his muscles straining against the resistance. Sparks flew as the edges groaned in protest, but he didn't stop. Zayla watched in absolute disbelief. That is impossible, she whispered, her circuits pulsing erratically. Vrex's voice returned over the speakers, his tone unreadable. Human Carter, your actions aren't illogical. Your physical structure should not allow for such exertion. You will damage yourself before you succeed. But Alex ignored him. He gritted his teeth, planted his feet firmly against the ground, and pulled harder. The metal groaned, bent, cracked. Then, with a final earth-shaking snap, the panel tore free from the wall. A shower of sparks erupted as exposed wires dangled freely, the core power conduits now completely accessible. The entire station lurched. Alarms screamed in response, and the force field generators flickered violently, struggling to compensate for the sudden power disruption. Zayla stared at him, circuits glowing wildly. You just tore apart a reinforced security panel with your bare hands. Alex exhaled sharply, shaking the numbness from his fingers. Yeah, well, I work out. The station reacts. Vrex's silence over the comms was more telling than any words he could have spoken. For the first time, he was genuinely uncertain. Alex didn't know exactly what was going through the High Scholar's mind, but he could guess. The Vixari were brilliant, methodical beings. They planned for every scenario, accounted for every variable. But this, a human physically tearing apart reinforced technology. This wasn't in their calculations. Vrex finally spoke again. But this time, his tone had changed. "Human Carter, what are you?" Alex smirked, stepping back as the containment system fully collapsed, sparks raining from the ceiling. "A guy who really doesn't like being locked up." Then he turned to Zayla. "Let's go." She snapped out of her daze, nodding quickly. Together, they rushed toward the docking bay doors, which had begun flickering as the security system failed to maintain its lockdown. But before they could escape, a final obstacle appeared. The floor panels beneath them hissed, and from the metallic surface, a new figure emerged. Not a sentinel, not a drone. It was Vrex himself. For the first time, the High Scholar had left his command center and stood directly in their path. His golden eyes studied Alex intently, as if analyzing something entirely beyond his understanding. Zayla froze beside him, her circuits flickering nervously. Alex met Vrex's gaze, shoulders squared, jaw tight. Neither spoke for several long seconds. Then, Vrex's lips curved slightly. Not a smirk, not anger, curiosity. "You have earned my attention, Human Carter," he said slowly. "This is unprecedented." Alex felt the weight of the moment, but he had no time for pleasantries. "Yeah, well, I don't really care," he shot back. "Step aside." Vrex tilted his head. "And if I do not?" Alex didn't hesitate. "Then I'll move you myself." For the first time, Vrex laughed. It was a strange, soft sound, more of an amused exhale than anything else. "Very well," the High Scholar murmured. Then, to Alex and Zayla's utter shock, he stepped aside. The docking bay doors hissed open, and Vrex simply gestured toward the exit. "You may go." Alex narrowed his eyes, searching for any trick, any deception. But there was none. Vrex was letting them leave. Zayla looked between them, her circuits pulsing in shock and awe. Alex didn't question it. He grabbed Zayla's hand and stepped forward. But as they passed, Vrex spoke one last time. "Be warned, human," he said, his golden eyes gleaming. "This will not be our last meeting." Alex didn't look back, because for the first time, he knew that Vrex wasn't an enemy. He was something far worse, an interested observer. And that scared Alex more than anything. The final decision. The airlock hissed open, revealing the vast docking bay beyond. The sheer emptiness of space stretched out before them, dotted with distant stars and the faint glow of planetary nebulae. The Vixari research station orbited a barren, ice-covered world, its surface reflecting the cold silver light of the station's artificial glow. Alex took a deep breath, gripping Zayla's wrist as they stepped forward. Behind them, Vrex stood motionless, watching like an impartial observer, his golden eyes gleaming with unreadable intent. He had made no move to stop them. No command given to the security systems, no hidden traps lying in wait. He had simply let them go. And that bothered Alex more than anything. He had fought his way through lockdown protocols, evaded killer sentinels, and outmaneuvered a security AI designed to eliminate anything unpredictable. He had ripped apart reinforced panels with his bare hands. But instead of treating him as an enemy, Vrex was letting him leave. Not because he had lost, but because he wanted to see what Alex would do next. That single realization made Alex's blood run cold. Zayla, still holding his hand, hesitated. Her circuits flickered softly, her silvery eyes locked onto Vrex with uncertainty. "Why are you letting us leave?" she finally asked. Vrex's lips twitched slightly. "Because this is more interesting," he said, his voice carrying a strange, curious amusement. "Had I chosen to detain you, Human Carter, I believe you would have resisted until your last breath. That is remarkable." Alex's jaw tightened. "You sound like you're studying me," he said flatly. Vrex inclined his head. I am. The word sent a shiver down Alex's spine. This wasn't over. Vrex had learned something today. Something dangerous. The High Scholar wasn't an enemy, nor was he a friend. He was something far worse. A curious scientist who had just discovered something new. Something that shouldn't exist. Something he wanted to study further. And Alex had a bad feeling he was going to see Vrex again, sooner than he wanted. But right now, they had a bigger problem. They still needed to escape the station. Boarding the ship, Alex rushed toward the nearest docked vessel, a sleek, mid-sized transport shuttle resting on an automated loading platform. The hull bore the Vixari insignia, but unlike the rest of the station's cold, sterile aesthetic, this ship looked customized, as if it belonged to an individual rather than the station itself. Zela froze mid-step when she saw it. "This is my personal shuttle," she whispered, her voice uncertain. Alex stopped in his tracks. "Wait, what?" Zela turned to him, circuits flickering with what almost looked like guilt. "My role in the research station granted me limited clearance for external travel. This ship is programmed only for scientific expeditions, not escape." Alex stared at her. "Can you override that?" Zela hesitated. "Yes, but..." Her gaze shifted back toward Vrex, still watching from the far side of the bay, unmoving. Alex followed her gaze, understanding her hesitation. This wasn't just about escaping. Zela wasn't just running away. She was betraying her own people. If she left now, she wouldn't be able to return. She would be labeled a rogue entity, an exile. Alex squeezed her hand. "Zela." She turned back to him, her circuits dimming slightly. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "You can still stay. I won't force you to come with me." Her silvery eyes searched his face, and for the first time in her life, she looked uncertain. She had been raised in a society where logic ruled above all, where obedience to the system was absolute, where individuality was irrelevant. And yet, this human had risked everything for her. He had fought for her. He had bled for her. He had saved her life. And now, he was giving her a choice. Zela's fingers tightened around his wrist. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I do not wish to stay." Alex's chest tightened. "Then let's go." Breaking free. The shuttle's entry hatch slid open, revealing the pristine interior, lined with high-tech control panels and smooth, dark seating. Zela moved quickly, her fingers flying over the console as she accessed the ship's flight systems. Initializing manual override, disengaging station tethers, activating emergency thrusters. Alex slid into the co-pilot's seat, watching as the docking clamps detached, sending a slight tremor through the hull. The shuttle hummed to life, its engine cores pulsing with bright blue-white energy. The docking bay's automated defenses should have activated, but they didn't. Alex's gaze flickered to the station's control hub, where Vrex still stood, watching silently. His golden eyes glowed faintly, and for a brief moment, Alex could have sworn the High Scholar was smiling. Then the shuttle's thrusters fired, and the ship shot forward, blasting out of the docking bay. The moment they hit open space, the comms console crackled to life. And Vrex's voice, smooth, controlled, and filled with quiet amusement, spoke one last time. "Farewell, human Carter. I will be watching your progress with great interest." Then, silence. Alex exhaled sharply, slumping back in his seat as the station shrunk in the distance, disappearing behind them. Zela, still at the controls, glanced at him. "We are free." Alex let out a tired chuckle, rubbing the back of his neck. "For now." Zela hesitated. "Are you concerned that we will see him again?" Alex stared at the distant stars, thinking. Then he nodded. "Oh yeah," he muttered. "I'd bet on it." A pause. Then, Zela's circuits flickered violet again. Alex noticed. "Hey," he said, You never told me what that color means. Zayla stiffened slightly. It is nothing. Alex raised an eyebrow. Aha. Right. Zayla turned away, busying herself with the ship's navigation systems, setting course for the nearest neutral sector. Alex smirked. He didn't know where they were going. He didn't know what would happen next. But one thing was certain. This was only the beginning.